Hello， 大家好，我是 Cecily。大家现在应该已经有看到了画面呢。今天依然不是我一个人在镜头前面，而是呢，我邀请到了一位非常专业，尤其是在世运的预测上面的相当专业的一位专家，来为我们这个系列，就是提到从日本大地震这个传言开始，然后我想给大家呢更多的资讯，因为我也告诉大家，其实我在世运上面可能有很多各种不同的预测的工具，那么在这些预测工具上面呢，我并不是能够完全的面面俱到，所以我们可以邀请不一样的专家来跟我们去分享他的观点。那我今天邀请的专家本身就是土耳其的国师，这位国师呢，他名字叫做 Oner Doser。他其实在土耳其的电视频道里面其实有个节目，然后他每周都会上这个节目来去做很多的预测的分享，并且他也会有个报纸的专栏，他每周都会写出他这一周所判断的一些预测内容的资讯来跟土耳其的民众分享。所以呢，这么一位重量级的国师呢，我们有幸可以邀请他来到我的频道，接受我的采访，跟大家分享他对于未来可能有的预测的传言，来去分享他的方式。所以接下来就让我来跟 Doser 呢做这个 interview。戴克博士除了是世运占星的权威，他同时也是21世纪在阿拉伯文献以及拉丁文献翻译最多的国际译者。他在今年与 SATA 联手推出了大师级的研究所的课程。如果你想要深入研究占星学，那么你绝对不能错过这个为期2年的深度本命占星的课程。Hello, Oner.
Hello, Cecily.
So nice to meet you. I think we already met in person in May. And so today it's my pleasure to invite you to accept my interview.
Thank you very much. And people liked your presentation when you were in Istanbul very much. Students were very happy after your workshop. It was great to meet you in person as well. And people enjoyed very much. Thank you very much once again.
Thank you for inviting me. And also today, our interview, the topic, I think that is your specialty, since you already to do so many accurate prediction. All the many prediction is to be true and can be verified, because many of our audience, we are Chinese. In Asia, recently there is a rumor, but you say it's a legend, okay? And it's talking about Japan is going to have a huge earthquake, because this kind of rumor will recall our memory back to the many years ago. There is a very huge earthquake also hit Japan. That is why I think that maybe you can use your astrology skill, can present us what is your opinion. But before we talking about the legend of the Japan earthquake, maybe you can share something you already successful to do the prediction recently.
Actually, yes. As you said, I had some predictions on this times which we are in about the Iran and Israeli situation. Yes. Actually, I had a prediction about this in the beginning of this year. When we have some internet and television interviews, because I was aware of the Mars return of Donald Trump, as well as Benjamin Netanyahu, as well as Israelis' child, and also the full moon, the latest one, which we had just a few days ago in Sagittarius. It was the time when Donald Trump's chart was working perfectly, because his full moon, or the full moon in his birth, was repeating in the sky. So these were very important. At the same time, Mars return and the full moon almost exactly on his sun moon opposition. and his solar return was also very close to. So something would turn around him. And on the other side, Benjamin Netanyahu's chart has the same degree Mars, which is on 26 Leo, and it is rising. And also in the Israelis chart, Mars 28 Leo. So all were turning around. And in Iran's chart, mundane chart, the ascendant is Leo. And interestingly, when we have seen rising Leo, code name of the operation which Israel did to Iran, we understand that too many things are related with astrology, astrological symbolism, very interestingly.
Yeah, it's amazing. All of the very close relationship with their natal chart, with the full moon chart, and with the mundane chart. Yeah. Do you like to present the chart, your slide to us? Then we can see the chart and to understand that you are talking about.
Sure. Yes, here they are. I think you are able to see them.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Well, let's start with full moon in Sagittarius, which happened on 11 June 2025. And we'll draw this chart according to coordinates of Tel Aviv, Israel. We see that Mars almost exactly on the ascendant. So the lines of Mars ascendant were passing from that region. And also we see that Uranus at the top of the chart, which is close to the meridian. This is very important in astrology to see a planet close to the meridian at the same time of a lunation. And this is a lunation 20 degree of Sagittarius. Sagittarius means something global, something international. And of course, this is another fire sign. We have many planets in fire sign around these days. Mars still in Leo, Neptune and Saturn are in Aries, and of course Chiron in Aries. And in this lunation, full moon, the moon was in Sagittarius, so very fiery. And when we look at the lines in astrocartography chart, we see that it is also passing from the mid of Turkey as well, from Cyprus, which I'm still expecting something turning around Cyprus as well nowadays. And of course it goes very close to Damascus, Jordan and Syria actually, and of course close to Egypt as well. And so when we see this Mars line, and when we look at the chart of Donald Trump again, and we see that his Mars return and lunation almost the same in his chart. So at the same time, Mars return and full moon. I was thinking around this full moon, which happened in the 11th, between solar return of Donald Trump on the 13th. So that would be something very martial turning around him. When we move to the US chart, we see that this full moon was working on Mars of the US. Mars is placed in the 7th house. 7th house means open enemies. Mars means war in general, or something related with army, guns, that sort of things. And that Mars, transiting Mars, 26 Leo, was opposing the moon in this chart. So just a few days before this event, before the attack of Israeli to Iran, there was some struggling or big, even chaotic events turning around in Los Angeles, the US. So was triggered by the Mars. And of course, around the 11th, this full moon, everything jumped so high. So still actually continuing around the same thing. And Saturn in this lunation was in the cusp of the 4th house, angular, opposing to Saturn by sign, but just started. It will continue. So something struggling, we're turning around the US. By the way, when Neptune ingressed to Aries around 165 years ago, there were a big chaos war inside of the US in 1861. So something will be still turning around the US. Anyway, when we pass to this chart on Donald Trump and the full moon, US, Donald Trump and the full moon, you see all the alignments of the planets. Mars, the son of Donald Trump is on Mars of the country.
And of course, the degree are so close.
And Mars degree of Donald Trump is opposing to the moon degree. Moon means general, common, the public.
Common people.
Actually.
And public.
Mostly the women, but the public in general. So there will be something also chaotic churning around the public in general, but some problems with the other countries, especially since Mars in the 7th house and in Gemini. The words will be very harsh nowadays, and there will be some, rivalry, that sort of things, and which happened actually. And I believe, or I think, Israeli attacked Iran, but behind this there was the U.S. and of course the President Donald Trump, because they have Mars in the same degree, 26 Leo, 26 Leo. So
the same degree. So, oh my God.
So someone who has their Mars in the same degree means they work together. They, make something. They get action together, or they trigger something together, or something trigger these two, which is coming from outside. And of course, there are some other things. For example, suns are trying to each other, moons are sextiling to each other. So many things are combining to each other. So these two leaders will be working together for something, for the future of their nations, I can say. And when we look at their composite charts, we see many planets in the sign of Leo. Of course, Mars 26 Leo. So many planets. When a planet passing from Leo, especially as we have Mars nowadays, will be triggering this. And what will be more, when we jump 2 years later, when we have Mars spending long time in Leo in 2027, we will have Mars retrograde in Leo for a long time. Mars will be staying there. So let's make a prediction from now to 2 years later. There will be something more struggling around this couple. But let's return back to now our days. When we look at this combination and Donald Trump, Benjamin Netanyahu, and the full moon, we see all Mars together. And I said, yes, there is something here. So many months ago, I think 5-6 months ago, I just realized that after Donald Trump's presidency around, I think January, I had some predictions about all these. And since that time, I'm still speaking on it. Anyway, when we put this composite chart onto Iran's mundane chart, we see that the planets around the first house, which indicates the public actually, and the full moon triggered also the Mars of Iran just around these days. And what happened between 11 June and 13 June, there was, a big struggle. There was an operation, which is called, interestingly for the astrologers, as I said, Leo rising, rising Leo, or the operation's name. For the first time, very astrological name, the operation name. So let's look at the Israel's chart. And we see that also Israel is having Mars, very important. And of course, in their chart, Mars square the sun. So there will be big struggling. This square with Uranus, transiting Uranus on the sun, is not very safe for the leaders of the Israel in general, for Netanyahu or for some other people who are in leading positioning, because the sun indicates leaders in general. and they have Sun, Mars square to each other. So it is dangerous for Israel to have these transits nowadays, especially which will be turning around their leadership team in general and in specific, maybe Netanyahu, Benjamin Netanyahu as well. So this lunation, this full moon was also triggering the Uranus-Jupiter opposition in Israel's chart. Jupiter in the third house. The third house means in mundane astrology, neighbors of the country. And the ninth house, foreign neighbors, I mean, someone far. And Uranus is here. Uranus indicates the US in general. And the Uranitian kind of, and Uranus in Gemini is in the US chart. And of course, this opposition is also triggered by this lunation. So I was very sure that there would be something turning around. Israel, Iran, Netanyahu, Trump. This is why I did some predictions about all these. And there is another leader who will be the third man with these connections, Vladimir Putin. He has Mars in 26 degree of Sagittarius. And the Mars degree of Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu trining to this Mars, almost exactly. So that means this is the third man who will be, in communication with the other two. Of course, sometimes we hear in the media that there are some problems between Donald Trump, Vladimir Putin, sometimes Donald Trump, Benjamin Netanyahu, or Benjamin Netanyahu to Vladimir Putin. But these are coming to me just like a scenario. These are just like actors. Yeah, sometimes they become angry with each other, but at the end, if you ask me, they are working together.
Yes,
if Russia,
like that.
If Russia was in the area around this time, Israeli would not prefer to attack Iran, but Russia is not over there. So Vladimir Putin just left there a few months ago after the Syria situation. So as I think, to be clear and open, these three or these triple aspect to each other leaders are organizing something for the Middle East for the next days, especially Trump and Netanyahu, which might be a problem for Turkey as well, actually, in this time span, especially by 2026. We have our Mars in 7 degree of Libra, and Saturn and Neptune is coming to opposition. And especially, I don't have this Turkey's chart at this moment here, but let's predict something for 2026, especially April 2026. Mars-Saturn conjunction will be in Aries, 7 Aries by April 2026, and opposing to Turkish Mars. I don't have that chart here as well, but in Israelis secondary progress chart, Mars is in 7 Libra.
7 Libra, okay.
On Turkey's natal Mars. So probably very soon there will be struggles, problems between Israel and Turkey as well. And what shall we have? Today is the 14th of June, and just tomorrow we will have 2 important aspects will be exact. Mars-Uranus square, which is dangerous about especially nuclear kind of things, nuclear, weapons or nuclear places, areas, and there will be some problems turning around us, fires, nuclear problems, or something related with the planes, the airplanes, which is related with Uranus, or we can say some cyber attacks will be the case for Israel, and of course in turn for Israel as well. So this is a very dangerous square, and we will have also Jupiter-Saturn square just tomorrow, And a few days later, on the 19th, we will have also Jupiter-Neptune square. So these are also indicators of big economical problems for the next week. And I think there will be some problems in the market, monetary.
Oh, wow, that is very important information for the audience. Yeah.
So this is very fiery, very problematic. And
yeah,
when we look at the Cancer ingress chart of the sun, we see again it is very close to Ankara, our capital, but of course very close to Israel on that area as well. So there will be some big struggles. So I think although there are some appointments of the US and Iran by tomorrow, with these hard aspects of tomorrow, as we have seen here, it is very difficult to agree with these two areas. So I think this is my slides about that. And what I found and what I predicted, and in social media and media, in some television program I attended. So most of the people are aware that astrology is working perfectly. And it is just like a sign. When you make good predictions, of course, relying on the astrology charts, people respect astrology, which they find it like a
that
sign.
Is true. That is true. Yeah. So thank you, Doser, because of you. So that more people to believe in astrology because of your successful prediction. I have some questions. So according to your prediction, that previous one, so we can see there are so many things. The Mars are all combined together and almost at the same degree. So that means this war can relate it to this country like Israel and Iran and also US and even Russia. So that is your opinion?
Yes, probably, because at the same time they are struggling in different areas. At the same time we have a Russia and a Ukraine event. On the other side, we have China and the US are in commercial war, that kind of war. And in some other parts of the world we have something else, but I think the Middle East is very important one. And there were just 1 month or more ago we had a problem between India and Pakistan. So it is turning around us. And since we are in solar maximum, 2026 and 2027 still will be in solar maximum. And since almost every 11 years we have seen big wars, important wars, such as 2013 was one of the solar maximum time. We had some big chaotic atmosphere in Turkey as well. And example, whereas there were some other countries who had almost the same, Egypt, for example, in that year. But before that, we had an Arab Spring, which was around 2010, 2011, just when we are going towards the solar maximum. Before that, 2001, around Twin Tower attack. Before that, 1990, we had big problems around the, Iraq and around that area, and there were, revolution in Russia as well. So when you go back to 11 years, almost 11 years cycles, you see that there are some wars, including World War I and World War II. We had solar maximum around those times as well. And we are in grand maximum as well, still beginning from 1910s, grand cycles around 100 years. So we are still in this cycle, grand maximum cycle, which people are more aggressive. We have seen many wars, as we have seen the Second and the First World War. So I think the Third World War is turning around us. especially between 2025 2027 in the solar maximum phase of the sun. It is likely that we will have more struggling. I hope we don't have the third one, but there will be some other wars. And in this situation, I think Israel and Iran, it will be growing. And of course, next step can be Turkey.
Okay. Thank you for Doser today's presentation. 如果我们的观众想要看更多 Doser 有做的各种的一些预测的影片的话，其实他都有在他的脸书，然后他的Instagram 上面，大家可以去 follow 他。那当然有一些内容其实是土耳其文，不过现在 AI 可以帮我们做很好的翻译了。那我们今天呢，非常感谢 Doser 给我们这次相当棒的近期的以色列跟伊朗的冲突战争的预测。当然我相信大家呢更加的期待有关于这个日本大地震的这个传言，那 Doser 是怎么样子看待的？那我们就下次见。Looking forward the next time for your presentation. Thank you, Doser. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.